All right, shalom, and welcome to a special edition. This is a little bit different than our Bible study that we normally do. I know that we are a little bit later than we normally gather together on this day, but because it is in the middle of our tabernacles, and if you know what that is, then we are here and we have something going on every day. As it is written, this is a week-long feast, 8 days, if you will, for this one, because we still have a Sabbath that ends off the end of those 7 days. So we have something going on every day. It is a long feast, if you will. It is a beautiful opportunity for us to be able to fellowship. And so on this day, what we have is Ask the Priest. So what we do is you guys email questions. We already have some questions, and we'll take a few of those as they come. You can send those questions to questions@theuci.org, and we'll get to those. We'll see what all that we can get to before tonight's done. But like I said, we're doing something every day this week, because as it is written, we're supposed to do this, and we're going to do this in our land. The children of Israel are going to dwell in booths the entire week. And when you talk about a whole lot of people coming into town, you can think about what happens during like major football games. You can't find a hotel. You can't, everybody starts descending upon, that place for that special event. Well, we're talking about this would be the Hebrew Israelite Super Bowl right now. We're talking about everybody coming to town, everybody, bringing, their families, just all around festivities everywhere, something for every age group, all of that. So, this is what we are dealing with on a small scale. But when we get to the point of Yahweh setting up things in righteousness, we're going to deal with this on a very, very grand scale. So what I'm going to do is I'll kind of jump back and forth between the questions that we have from here and ones that we have on the internet. So I'll take one from here first. So this says, can you explain Romans 5 and looks like 19? So let's go to Romans 5. And verse 19.
Romans 5 and verse 19. For as by one man's disobedience many were made sinners, so by the obedience of one shall many be made righteous.
So, for as by one man's disobedience many were made sinners. So, after we're talking about this transgression that Adam, man, committed, then we have to then understand that everyone born after that, you'll hear this term saying that we were born into sin. And it's like, what do you mean? The first man wasn't born into sin. First man was made. He was made, and he was not made after any wrongdoing had been committed. Every man after him was born after sin, after the sin of transgressing Yahweh's word was set in place. So now all of those individuals are now born into that sin. And it's interesting that a lot of times we think that we can do something that won't affect the people behind us. But when you do something, there are some some actions that can be committed that are so strong that it may affect every bit of your lineage after you. And we're so busy into, dealing with, what we have to deal with. Sometimes you don't really think about that. This may affect every part of your family that comes after you. So for as by one man's disobedience, and you have to even examine the situation with Adam, man, that he wasn't deceived. It didn't say about one man's deception. He wasn't deceived. It says point blank that he wasn't deceived. He made a decision to follow what his wife desired. And this is a common problem with man. Yahweh gives man a wife and says it's not good for him to be alone. But then what happens is that a woman is the beginning of man loving the gift more than the gift giver. She is the absolute ultimate of that. So she is given unto him. And then he has so much love and respect for what is near him. Now it has the ability to renegotiate his order that came from his Elohim. So, and along the way, we do this with various things. People will do this with children. All of a sudden, children have them to renegotiate what Yahweh's words say. And we often have this discussion where, the word says, you shall chastise your children, you shall whoop your children, you shall beat him with the rod, for he shall not die. But then you have a whole set of people who say, I will not beat my child. I will not discipline my child. At that point, they're saying that Yahweh is a lie. They're saying that their own personal situation overrides Yahweh, and Yahweh must be wrong. He must not know their situation, because what will happen is they may have gotten into something and somebody dealt with it wrong. So now they don't want to deal with anything related to that. Not dealing with like, I won't whoop my child that bad. No. Now they just don't want to deal with it at all. And it's absolutely ignorant, because we'll have the same situation. We'll see somebody die in a car wreck. But you know what's funny? It don't stop us from getting into a car. And you can see where people have these twisted parts of decision making, and it really just already fits what they want to do. Because like people will say that about a motorcycle. I won't ride no motorcycle because I don't seen people die on a motorcycle. Seen people die in every which way. You just didn't want to ride a motorcycle. You don't need an excuse to say what it is you don't want to do. So people will say something happened bad when this person whooped their kid. Something happened bad in everything that you can possibly mention in life. Somebody fell in love and it went good. Somebody fell in love and it went bad. And are we going to use one situation and say, I am not going to deal with any of this whatsoever? So, and not knowing it, if you're not dealing with that situation correctly, you may now be in a point where you're making several generations worth of problems, because now when that individual grows up, they're going to pass that misunderstanding to the next and to the next and to the next. So for by one man's disobedience, many were made sinners. So by the obedience of one shall many be made righteous. One thing that we don't consider, Yahshua was always keeping his Father's law. Now, even when he didn't want to do it, he asked, is there any other way? It's funny. That is where we draw the line of where we don't want to do something. Once we feel uncomfortable about something, we out. Yahshua asked point, and you can tell that he meant it. He asked 3 times. Yep. Please, is there any other way? Yahweh, did I ask you, is there any other way? Matter of fact, did I tell you that I love you? Matter of fact, look, is there any other way? Wait a minute, he kept asking. And he got the point on the third one. All right. Get ready. He that betrays me is on the way. Let's go. Go ahead.
Because just that one deviation deviates from being obedient.
Right. That's all it takes. So consider that. When Yahweh's word says one thing, but we say something else, are we not disobedient? We are now standing in the line of disobedience. And we have to ask ourselves, everybody believes that he's going to say this to somebody else. Get away from me, you worker of lawlessness. I never knew you. Everybody believes that that's going to be somebody else. Nobody thinks that that's going to be them. Whenever we hear that, we always picture somebody else. We picture somebody outside of the word. We picture somebody out in the street. We never picture somebody who's dressed in culture, somebody who we might see on the Sabbath day. We never think that is going to be them. We never think it's going to be us. But what happened if he asked you to do the one thing that you were actually put on this earth to do, and you say no? You think it matter how many Sabbath days you kept? You think it matter how many times you showed up in culture? The only thing he counting is you were born for this, and you told me no. Done. We don't even consider that. You have to think about all of the changes that he would have had to make if when he tells Moshe, you know what, step back. I'm going to make a nation out of you. Do you realize how bad it would have been for the children of Israel if Moshe would not have stepped up? Oh, it wasn't going to be pretty. I want you to go to Isaiah chapter 53. Isaiah 53. And started at verse 1.
Who has believed our report? And to whom is the arm of Yahweh revealed? For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of a dry ground. He has no form nor comeliness. And when we shall see him, there's no beauty that we should desire him.
And what did it say about him? They said, Yahshua, show us where you live. He said, the foxes have holes. The birds have nests, but the Son of Man have not where to lay his head. Okay, so when it says there is no beauty that we should desire him, what that mean? He ain't no money. First thing they want to tell you is how rich God wants you to be. We know what makes you desirable today, and it ain't about how you look. Because we know you can look like the bottom of a tie if you got the right amount of money. Come on now. Come on, man. You done rolled over everything on the street. But let them diamonds glisten the right way. Oh my goodness. Look at him. Look at him. That's all you gotta do. Go ahead.
He's despised and rejected of men.
Uh-huh.
A man of sorrows.
They don't reject rich men. Rich men don't even know rejection. Rich men don't ask. Go ahead.
And acquainted with grief. And we hid him as it were our faces from him. And we hid as it were our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not.
Uh-huh.
Surely he has borne our griefs.
Wait a minute. So the question was about one sin and then one being obedient. Now, he had the opportunity when it was the most difficult to say, Yahweh, I can't take it. Yahweh, I just can't take it. Send me some help. He had that opportunity where he was weak to go ahead and fold. Go ahead.
And carried our sorrows. Yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of Elohim and afflicted.
Right, and he's not smitten for anything that he has done wrong. Understand that. See, we have a hard time being disciplined when we are the transgressor. How difficult do you think it is to be disciplined when you haven't been the transgressor? Go ahead.
But he was wounded for our transgression. He was bruised for our lawlessness. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way, and Yahweh has laid on him the lawlessness of us all. He was oppressed, and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth.
And we know that had to be somebody not of this earth. Because you know, as soon as we get afflicted, our mouth wide open. Woe is me. Oh, I can't believe it. And why me lie? Now, we done mountains of evil. But the first time we suffer about 2 minutes worth, I'm talking 120 seconds. Oh, we all in the woe is me deep. Go ahead.
He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before her shearers is dumb, so he opened not his mouth. He was taken from prison and from judgment, and who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off out of the land of the living. For the transgression of my people was he stricken. And he made his grave with the wicked, and with the rich in his death, because he had done no violence, neither was any deceit in his mouth. Yet it pleased Yahweh to bruise him.
It pleased Yahweh to bruise him. Wait a minute. Why was it pleasing to bruise a sinless individual? Well, wait a minute. When we committed sin and blood was shed from an animal, what did the animal do? What wrong did the animal do? But the animal's blood was used to put us back in the right place with our Elohim. The animal didn't do anything wrong. But that blood being shed by that animal caused us to be put back in the right place. So then it was pleasing. Go ahead.
He has put him to grief. When you shall make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed, he shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of Yahweh shall prosper in his hand. He shall see of the travail of his soul, and shall be satisfied. By his knowledge shall my righteous servant justify many, for he shall bear their lawlessness. Therefore will I divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he has poured out his soul unto death. And he was numbered with the transgressors, and he bare the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors.
And was numbered with the transgressors. Not that he was one, but he was numbered with the transgressors. So when you deal with the beginning, you have, this is the foundation that man has set. We're going to have to deal with that foundation. When it comes down to Yahshua making this stand for sin, then we're going to have to also deal with that foundation. This is why going forward, our baptisms were then done in Yahshua's name. We were baptized into his death. He's the one that paid the price. You got to be baptized in that name. That's why the adversary, the devil, was so slick in making sure that they gave us that false name of Jesus. Go ahead, brother. Did you have a question or statement there?
It's more or less a statement. It's how can those Israelites that only believe in one book and not a Messiah read this and not put two and two together? That's crazy.
Well, there are times, brother, that we see what we want to see, and then there are times that when we don't want to see something, we just decide that it ain't there. You ever seen a kid just put his hand over there? He just decided, I'm not seeing you right now, and if I can't see you, you must not be there. All right? Now I still hear you. You know what I'm saying? But I don't see you right now. So there comes a time that, something gets to the point where it's going to change how we deal with something, and we don't want to deal with that. So you have some people that may have a issue that they feeling in their body, and they're afraid to go to the doctor because they don't want to know about the ailment. Because see, some individuals worry so much that as soon as they find out something wrong with them, they died at the doctor's office. Now the issue ain't even a death issue, but they worried so much, they already dead. They already, soon as they told them, you got such and such, they gone. And they was like, wow, I didn't know that was, a life sentence. And the doctor was like, it wasn't. I don't know what the hell happened. I just told him and he passed out. We got medicine. It was on the third shelf. I was gonna give it to him, but before I could reach over there, he had already passed out. So the decision is made. I just don't want to hear that. And sometimes you have some individuals that have already formulated everything around something. And change is like the hardest thing to do. And one thing you have to learn with Yahweh is you're always growing on levels. If you think that you're already there, I'm telling you, you got a heartbreak on the way. Because he deals with you on levels, and he'll keep you at that level until it's time for him to move you to the next one. And if you've gotten too accustomed to the level where you were, Yahweh is actually bothering you by moving you up. You actually upset at Yahweh. You're not, man, come on now. I was fine where I was. What do you mean? Why does anybody have to leave kindergarten? No, man, you can't stay in kindergarten for 12 years, bro. You have to move on. You can't just be the big kid in kindergarten. You have to move along with everybody else. You just can't stay there. But those decisions do that for us. I want to get to one of the questions online, and it says, what about the people who say that there was never an Israel, just spiritual Israel, that there was never an Israel, the people? Now, there are two ways that you have to deal with that. Let's first go to Deuteronomy chapter 32. And if you guys missed it before, you can send your questions in to questions@theuci.org. And we're just doing Ask the Priest, so we're doing questions tonight. Now, Deuteronomy 32. And I want you to start at verse 12.
So Yahweh alone did lead him, and there was no strange God with him. He made him ride on the high places of the earth, that he might eat the increase of the fields. And he made him to suck honey out of the rock, and oil out of the flinty rock, butter of kine and milk of sheep, with fat of lambs and rams of the breed of Bashan, and goats with the fat of kidneys of wheat. And you did drink the pure blood of the grape. But Yeshurun waxed fat and kicked. You are waxen fat, you are grown thick, you are covered with fatness. Then he forsook Elohim which made him, and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation.
Do we understand what's happening right there? Wax means has grown, all right? But Yeshurun waxed fat and kicked. Wait a minute. As we began to get more stuff. So in the beginning of our walk, we come into the word, we all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, right? Then we start acquiring some things, all right? Now we waxing fat, But before, I rode up here on that bicycle, but now, hey, I'm riding pretty good. Before I was staying over here. Now I'm staying over there. Now he starts lightly esteeming the rock of his salvation. When you lightly esteem something, it don't mean what it used to mean. But what happened? The more we acquired, the less we had love, time, and attention for our Elohim. Go ahead.
They provoked him to jealousy with strange gods.
And there goes the provocation. Because instead of now having that time, honor, and admiration for our Elohim, we have that time, honor, and admiration for something else. Go ahead.
With abominations provoked they him to anger. They sacrificed unto devils, not to Elohim, to gods whom they knew not, to new gods that came newly up, whom your fathers feared not. Of the rock that begat you, you are unmindful, and has forgotten Elohim that formed you. And when Yahweh saw it,
so of the rock that begot you, you are unmindful, and have forgotten Elohim that formed you. But you know all the stuff about the heathen, though. It said they wise to do evil, but to do good, they know it not. Go ahead.
And when Yahweh saw it, he abhorred them because of the provoking of his sons and of his daughters. And he said, I'll hide my face from them. I'll see what their end shall be. For they are a very froward generation, children in whom is no faith. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not Elohim. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities, and I'll move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. I'll provoke them to anger with a foolish nation. For a fire is kindled in mine anger, and shall burn on to the lowest hell, and shall consume the earth with her increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. I will heap mischiefs upon them. I'll spend mine arrows upon them. They shall be burnt with hunger, and devoured with burning heat, and with bitter destruction. I will also send the teeth of beasts upon them, with the poison of serpents of the dust. The sword without and terror within shall destroy both the young man and the virgin, the suckling also with the man of gray hairs.
Now, understand that this word, it was given unto Israel, but all the enemies of Israel who congregated round about also have access to these writings. Now read this next line.
I said I would scatter them into corners. I'd make the remembrance of them to cease from among men.
Stop. So when they say Israel as a people never existed, wait a minute. Now we have some connection where you're dealing with a portion of that curse. See, this is how Yahweh did. Oh, okay, so you done got so big and bad with yourself. You done waxing so fat that now you all off into yourself. Okay. Well, in turn, I'm going to make them forget that you ever even existed. What is the opposite of being arrogant? Okay. So how you going to humble you? The first thing we think, when we got a reputation, hey, he said, all right, what's the opposite of reputation? Don't nobody know you. Okay. I'm going to make the remembrance of you to cease from among men. Now, don't that make it easy for somebody else to come in and pretend to be you? If he makes, the people forget about you, so then now let's go on the flip side of that. Because you have this, but then you have others who are benefiting from Israel, the remembrance of Israel. Go to Revelation chapter 2. So they say, oh, I like this. So Yahweh going to deal with them and make the remembrance of them cease from among men? What do you think your enemy who's next door, who already been looking at your house, he saw you when you put that porch on there. Man, that's nice right there. And then you're going to add to the deck. He said, oh, man, he make the deck wrap all around the back like that. That is nice. And then when Yahweh snatch you out of your house, what you think your neighbor who already didn't like you gonna do? Oh, he done moved right in. And to add insult to injury, he called himself you. Revelation 2 and read verse 9.
I know your works and tribulation and poverty, but you are rich.
Now, somehow Yahweh said that they're rich, poor people. Wait a minute. Somehow they rich, but somehow they poor. Now that's interesting right there. He said, I know your poverty, but you rich. Go ahead.
And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Yehudims, and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan.
So somewhere he said that there's, I wonder if this can be labeled anti-Semitic. Is the Bible anti-Semitic? I'm just asking the question. Because he says it's the synagogue of Satan. And we know where we can find a synagogue. Now, is the Bible anti-Semitic? We'll read Revelation 3 and verse 9. Because if that's the case, the Bible's been anti-Semitic a couple times. Just in the New Testament alone.
Revelations 3:9.
Mm-hmm.
Behold, I'll make them of the synagogue of Satan.
Wait a minute now. King James must didn't tell them not to put this in there. Go ahead.
Which say they are Yehudims.
Wait a minute. So there are people who say that they are Jews, yet on the beginning of this spectrum, he says, I'm going to make the remembrance of you cease from among men. So that makes it very easy for somebody to pretend to be you. Go ahead.
All you got to do is get locked away. You ask somebody right now, who's Rick Ross?
They're going to tell you, oh. They think that's Rick Ross.
Mm-hmm.
They think that's Rick Ross. No. He's portraying another guy named Rick Ross. That's not even his name. His name probably James Rutherford. Okay? That his name ain't Rick nor Ross. Okay? That ain't his damn name. But he played the hell out of the character. That's not his name. Go ahead.
And are not, but do lie. Behold, I'll make them to come and worship before your feet, and to know that I have loved you.
I don't know who is who, but somebody having some feet worship. That's all I'm saying. I don't know who's going to be standing and who's going to be kneeling. I'm just reading what it say. Now, is this anti-Semitic? Wait a minute. That writing red, ain't it?
Mm-hmm.
You mean to tell me that Jesus is anti-Semitic? Oh, this is frightening. Ooh. Go ahead, Mother. You got something there?
Yeah, we were talking about the Bible anti-Semitic, but they are working on this bill. Back in May, the Yehudim got the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act kind of introduced by the House. And of course, it's the legislation that is considering punishing Christians for citing certain scripture. So, it's that whole thing about really challenging free speech that, we're going to have to face. I don't know where the bill went, but I know that they've introduced it, trying to put that zipper on everybody's mouth.
I think they should go right ahead and do it. Because the Christians need to learn. They need to learn. They need to learn. You've been sending these people money. You've been doing all of that, and they've been attacking you the whole time. You're going to learn one way or another. Go on and go pass the bill. Go ahead. Tell them you can't read now. I mean, hell, they don't read much in there anyway. So I don't know how much that's going to punish them. Because, I mean, you get 2 scriptures and then you get a song and a dance. I don't know how much that's going to hurt praise and worship. Because it ain't too much reading done in praise and worship. But I tell you what, it's going to be some people that's going to be highly upset when they realize that they've been mocked, when they realize that they've been made a fool of, that they've sent all their money to individuals who hate them. They are definitely going to have a problem with that. Next question says, why are we called Israelites? So I want you to go to Isaiah chapter 45. Isaiah 45, and I want you to start that at verse 1.
Thus says Yahweh to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have holden, to subdue nations before him.
Now, this is going to lead toward another question that we have here. So I want you to, remember this. Yahweh says Cyrus, and we're talking about non-Israelite leaders who he will use. Okay? So the earth and the fullness therein belongs to him. It is his. He use on it whatever he want to use. That is something that we need to consider. See, we think, well, you know, he's a righteous God, so then he can only use righteous things. So if he used me, I must therefore be righteous. You out your rabbit mind. He used the adversary of the devil. That don't mean the devil was righteous. That means the devil was right there and he said, hey, you, go pick that up for me. Go ahead.
And I'll loose the loins of kings to open before him the two-leaved gates, and the gates shall not be shut. I'll go before you and make the crooked places straight. I'll break in pieces the gates of brass and cut in sunder the bars of iron. And I'll give you the treasure of darkness and hidden riches of secret places, that you may know that I, Yahweh, which call you by your name.
Wait a minute. I, Yahweh, which called you by your name, go ahead.
And the Elohim of Israel.
I am the Elohim of Israel. Keep reading.
For Jacob my servant's sake, and Israel mine elect, I have even called you by your name. I have surnamed you, though you have not known me.
I have surnamed you. So the real reason, a real answer to the question, because Yahweh said it was.
Mm-hmm.
That's the real answer to the question. That's like asking your mama, why you name me James? Because that's what I like. But Yahweh said this was your name. Now, understand, as we start getting deeper into that, then we find out, wait a minute, we wasn't named after Yahweh. Matter of fact, he didn't even give us his name right away. It was levels into that. And even if you deal with how he structured the family, he was always dealing with Israel. He goes to this point of changing Jacob to Israel. You got Sarah. You got each one of these these pillars playing a role in building this family. See, he says, Israel is my firstborn son. Then what? Yahweh put forth and made a representation of Israel. So when we talk about there were two entities, we talk about the baptism of Yahshua and that spirit descending in the bodily shape of a dove and resting upon him. It was only then that we hear, this is my son in whom I'm well pleased. We didn't hear that the 30 years that he was on the earth before. Not one time. They'll tell you, he was 12 years old. Because, they'll tell you they got everything in Christmas. They got baby Jesus. They got teenage Jesus. They got adolescent, first getting the mustache Jesus. They got Jesus, getting a little rough, playing out in the field Jesus. They got everybody. They got, 21, he didn't want to listen to his parent Jesus. Then you got grown man, 30-year-old Jesus. So you got a whole bunch of them. And they want to give you all of them. Yahweh said, this is my beloved son at baptism. None of that other stuff that you done read, high school football playing Jesus, none of this fits into the story. He wasn't Yahweh's son until that spirit descended. And he wasn't talking about the body on earth. He was talking about the spirit of Israel that went into that body. That was his son. His son was a spirit just like him. His son was not a physical man. This is what the son was asking. Is there any other way? There's one thing helping to create flesh. It's something altogether different being in it and being tortured in the very flesh that you created. Something altogether different. Till we finish that. You know what? I want you to back up and go to Isaiah 44. Isaiah 44 and start at verse 1.
Yet now hear, O Jacob, my servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen. Thus says Yahweh that made you and formed you from the womb, which will help you. Fear not, O Jacob, my servant, and you, Yeshurun, whom I have chosen. For I'll pour water upon him that is thirsty, and floods upon the dry ground. I'll pour my spirit upon your seed, and my blessing upon your offspring. And they shall spring up as among the grass, as willows by the watercourses. One shall say, I am Yahweh's, and another shall call himself by the name of Jacob, and another shall subscribe with his hand unto Yahweh, and surname himself by the name of Israel.
Now here we go in Isaiah 44, and we're talking about Israel in the future is going to have to surname themselves Israel, but he already said, I surname you Israel. Why would we have to surname ourselves, and he already did? Because the first thing them heathens did was change our name. They said, look, y'all can't have them ethnic names around here. See, we don't deal with that ethnic stuff right here. So you're going to have to take your Christian name. See, you Toby now. You understand? Now I'm going to keep beating you until you answer the Toby. You understand? This is your new Christian name. And we keep forgetting that these names are called Christian names. See, somehow we've forgotten that. See, now we use the term, my government name. No, that's your Christian name. Stop calling that your government name. That ain't your government name, that's your Christian name. I ain't no Christian. That's your problem. You got a Christian name. These are the names that they gave us. We could not keep ethnic names. Your name is the first thing that denotes who you are ethnically and the God that you serve. If I was to say I went to go meet my friend Muhammad, you just got a picture in your head and you got a thought about what kind of God he served. But I never gave you a picture of him. You knew all that by the name. So this is why they give us a different name for the Messiah, so later on they can give us a different image of what he looks like. Go ahead.
Elder, there's some of those people out from the countries in Africa that when they come here, they do a name change. And if you talk to some of them, they'll tell you that, oh, that's my Christian name.
Yep. Well, at least they still understand what that is. What has happened is we've had it so long that we see it on paper, so we've adopted this. This is my government name. No. This is the name that we were given because the slave master wanted to make sure they wasn't going to say no strange name. Your name is going to glorify their God. And in every part of this story, we find that issue. Where they said, I gave them the name according to my God. As great as Daniel was, he had a heathen name. He had a government name. He had a name that followed the God that the ruler of that land was worshiping. So his wouldn't have been a Christian name. It would have been whatever the God that man served. Because he said point blank, according to my God. That's where the names were handed out, according to that God. So when we then understand how strong that name is, see, we're making some statements when we go and we'll fight over names, even last names. Let us get in the park and have a beer too. I'm tell you, boy, ain't nobody messing with the Johnson family, bro. That was the last name of the slave master that owned you. So we fighting over which plantation is the best. That's essentially what we're doing. This is why I said, when they start to understand who they are, they're going to surname themselves back to the name that he originally gave us. All right, I think that's as far as I want to go with that. So let's do, there was a question from the internet, can women tithe? And there's no designation against whether any tithe has to come from a man. and you have to get down and where you can get into that if you research or read about the daughters of Zelophehad who were given land. If women can be given land, they can definitely tithe, because the tithe of that time came from what was produced from the land. And those women were able to get the land that their fathers gave unto them, which means that they definitely were able to tithe. And to some people, it might seem like a strange question, but depending on where and how you learn, it's some real strange doctrine out there about what people can and can't do. So you kind of have to keep your mind open when it comes down to certain things. Now, this says, does a man have to be married to be a priest officially? Let's go to Numbers chapter 1.
Start verse 1.
Start at verse 47.
But the Levites, after the tribe of their fathers, were not numbered among them. For Yahweh had spoken unto Moshe, saying, Only you shall not number the tribe of Levi, neither to take the sum of them among the children of Israel.
So even when the numbering of the children of Israel is to be done, the Levites are completely set aside from dealing with any of that. Go ahead.
But you shall appoint the Levites over the tabernacle of testimony, and over all the vessels thereof, and over all things that belong to it. They shall bear the tabernacle, and all the vessels thereof, and they shall minister unto it, and shall encamp round about the tabernacle. And when the tabernacle sets forward, the Levites shall take it down, and when the tabernacle is to be pitched, the Levites shall set it up. And the stranger that comes near shall be put to death.
Mm-hmm.
And the children of Israel shall pitch their tents, every man by his own camp, and every man by his own standard, throughout their hosts. But the Levites shall pitch round about the tabernacle of testimony.
So then the Levites must live near the tabernacle, because this is going to be their constant service. This is going to be a constant thing for them. Go ahead.
That there be no wrath upon the congregation of the children of Israel, and the Levites shall keep the charge of the tabernacle of testimony. And the children of Israel did according to all that Yahweh commanded Moshe, so did they.
So these children of Israel, these Levites, are going to constantly be around this place where they have to serve. That means their families. This means their sons, their daughters. And then, of course, their sons will then be eventually involved with the daughters of the other priests. This is just how that's going to work. But they are already, once they get to a certain age, they start service. It doesn't mean that they have to be married, but when they are not prohibited. Now, what happens in the world is we have the popes who say that, they so holy. They so holy they ain't gonna get married. They so holy. They so holy they don't need no woman time whatsoever. Now I don't know what they're doing with them children. All right, I don't know what they're doing with them children. Matter of fact, I don't know how them children hit that high note. But I can tell you one thing. It wasn't righteous. I can tell you that. So when we start setting some unrealistic boundaries, you setting your path up for some mess. The priesthood was handed down through families, meaning that these priests had wives that had children, and those children married into the families of other priests. This is what they did. These priests' sons and daughters didn't go off to scour the earth for whatever kind of scoundrel they can find and say, I do, which that's what you're going to end up with, do. They went and found the sons and daughters of other priests and married. That's what they did. They might have been raised as friends or cousins or whatever you want to call. What up, Slick Cub? Yeah, in a few years you're gonna be married to Slick Cub. They didn't scour the streets. Okay? They were right around one another, and that's where their marrying went. Go ahead, brother.
You know, when you talk about the Catholic priesthood, that should be a past tense like dinosaurs. You know, there used to be dinosaurs. Yeah, you know, there used to be Catholic priests. Because after the first generation, that should have been done.
It really should have. Because how did they multiply? If none of them can have kids, but it keep being more priests. Well, how did these come forward? Where y'all get these from? But you know, that'll never be, because you have to consider something. As many of them have gotten caught up in all of those molestations, we ain't seen not now one go to jail. Man, them people got diplomatic immunity. If you know that, there ain't no way you'd send your kids somewhere that the people have diplomatic immunity. That means you can't even if he get caught, he can't go to jail. Something seriously wrong with that. So then now there's the appearance of looking righteous, because, you know, these people don't deal with women, so-called. So we have to be careful about that thing where something looks righteous because of something that we have either seen or something like that. I want to go to one of the questions on the internet. It says, this came to me. The scriptures were being read explaining King David not being called a priest, but performed the acts and works of the priest to sacrifice and sanctify the land. Could we also draw parallels to Abraham? It says, I'm not sure if he was called a king or a priest, but in parallel, Abraham was in fact a king and priest, receiving command or law from the Most High and being instructed to rule over and ensure every one of his family and stranger that dwelt among them kept the laws. Abraham went to war and went to go get some stuff. Abraham took care of all kind of business. Now you have to look at something. So the kingship and the priesthood was merged together with Yahshua, but a little bit of that was already happening with King David. And the more and more you read, the more and more you start to see that, wait a minute, 1 minute he'd be operating as a king. The next minute he'd be operating as a priest. Because, you know, especially after the individual died, bringing the ark home, you would have thought that he would have completely backed up off of that and then just given that completely to the priest. That ain't how he dealt with that. And he brought it home, didn't it? It came home with him. When you deal with Abraham, we're talking about there's some parallels in there that'll be kind of strange. It says the sons paid tithes in Abraham because they was in the loins of his father when he met Melchizedek. Hey, I ain't never met nothing that's strange right there. Yahweh counted them, and as my mama would say, they wasn't even tickling their daddy's pants. But it was counted. That's some different stuff. But you have to look at the beginning of anything. When a business is started, the business owner plays many roles until he can find somebody to actively fulfill this role. So you're looking at Abraham is the beginning of Yahweh's family. Oh, he's playing many roles. But as that goes on, other people are going to be put in place to that he can trust to perform this duty or that duty. This is why sometimes people will look at somebody who started in the beginning of a company and they never seen them do something, so they don't think the person knows what that is. And then the person walk up one day and say, you know, this would go better if you stop this, put this right here, do this one first, and then come back and do this. And then, what the hell you know? I did this for 4 years, bro. When was that? See, in the beginning, you weren't there in the beginning. In the beginning, several individuals had to play several different roles. So then they are very well equipped when the operation gets elevated. They know all these different levels that people don't think that they know because they never seen them do it. Go ahead.
Didn't we see that with Moshe and his father-in-law?
Mm-hmm.
Moshe had one idea and was doing all this. Father-in-law, hey.
Uh-huh.
No. You gonna wear yourself out, man. You need to get some other people to help you do this.
Right. And when you talk about somebody who has done something and have experience in doing that, you know, this was one of those situations where, look, this is not about you believing in whatever God I believe in. This is about doing things in order. You're going to run yourself in the ground doing it that way right there. I can tell you that. If you got them running, you running after every question that they got, you gonna run yourself in the ground, boy. You ain't gonna last that way. Another question: why is atonement more important than Passover? All right, let's go to Leviticus chapter 16. And one of the things that we can even look at when we start thinking about Passover versus atonement, and I know nobody really thinks about that. Think about where they fall. If you're thinking about importance level, think about where they come. Why you didn't have atonement first? See, there's a process before you get to certain things. Think about it. You have atonement, all right? Where you are put in your right place with your Elohim, then you can do what? Tabernacle. You can't tabernacle after Passover. Your sin still ain't been atoned for. So it's a reason why they come in the order that they come in. He can't just have atonement at the beginning of the year. That has to follow this order. Leviticus chapter 16, and start that at verse 1.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe after the death of the two sons of Aaron, when they offered before Yahweh and died. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Speak unto Aaron your brother, that he come not at all times into the holy place within the veil before the mercy seat, which is upon the ark, that he die not, for I'll appear in the cloud upon the mercy seat. Thus shall Aaron come into the holy place with a young bullock for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering. He shall put on the holy linen coat, and he shall have the linen breeches upon his flesh, and he shall be girded with a linen girdle, and with the linen mitre shall he be attired.
He better have something on his head when he come near me. And I tell you, man, when you get to this point of understanding, and I'm telling you, Yahweh moves you on levels. There was a big period of time that we were not right there at that level, but it just wasn't nothing he wanted us to deal with at that time. But once he wanted us to deal with it, he put it on you, and when he put it on me, I couldn't get it off. Now, you know how many times we done read that? Mm-hmm. You know how many years we read that? But when he put it on me, all right, before they come near this holy place, you better make sure they got that linen mitre on their head. Their head better be covered. And this caused a big ruckus among folks who had never heard it. But you have to consider, when Yahweh give you something, he didn't give it to everybody else too, so they can feel comfortable about what he told you to do. But you know the first thing we're going to do? Hey, what you think about this? Yahweh like, I'm going to show you what I think about it. How about that? Ask somebody else. Ask somebody else. Ask somebody. Well, Yahweh, I just wanted to ask somebody else. Or you going to ask him what he think about what he told you. Ask somebody else. Oh, he didn't say it was going to be comfortable. But so once we get down into this, I had to go through all of these things. Look, they do not come near him with no uncovered head. Hey, man, for some people, that was too much to deal with. And I understand you can't get mad. It is what it is. But they don't come near him. He said, you know when something's serious? When he mentioned the word die. And people say, you know what, it probably ain't that serious. All right. He kind of said die. That kind of sounds serious. He said, don't come to me unless they die. I think he kind of meant it. Go ahead.
These are holy garments. Therefore shall he wash his flesh in water, and so put them on. And he shall take of the congregation of the children of Israel 2 kids of the goats for a sin offering, and 1 ram for a burnt offering. And Aaron shall offer his bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself, and make an atonement for himself and for his house.
Why he didn't say just, you know, saying he's going to make an atonement for his house? You know, why, you know, that we're not just dealing with Passover? Why we're not, because he could have said anything. It could have been a cleansing for his house. It could have been a washing for his house. But this is an atonement for his house, and he has a holy day called this same thing. Why is he dealing with that? Aaron shall offer his bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself, and make an atonement for himself. When you make that atonement, we are then dealing with being in the right place with our Elohim. We have been passed over many a time. There's some stuff that you did out there on the other end of Redan Road you probably should have been dead for. But he passed over you. That don't mean you atone for it, though. And see, we done forgot all them things. See, we done did some stuff, you know what I'm saying? Hey, the last thing your parents want to hear is you got some tapes from the 80s. Because they did some stuff in the 80s. Hey, I know a whole lot of people scared as hell when that Freaknik video came out. Don't even trip. I saw some people shaking and it wasn't twerking. Because they were wondering, who they got on that film? Who they got on that film? Mama, why you worried? I'm just saying, your mama was living back in those days, baby. So everybody wasn't happy about that Freaknik documentary. All right? Okay, all right. So just because he passed you over, that don't mean you don't atone for those things that have been committed. I understand there's a difference. Go ahead.
You know, we ought to even consider the very first Passover. It was just a pass. Oh, you were getting a pass of not dying.
That's it. That don't mean he dealt with you, because if he dealt with you, he wouldn't have took you out there and left you in the wilderness. If Passover was the done deal, they should have went right out of there and had a full kingdom. That ain't what happened, was it? Passover means you got look that one time you were supposed to die. I made sure you didn't die. And you know, that would be a horrible name for a holy day. I made sure you didn't die day. You know what I'm saying? It don't roll off right. It don't, you know, people don't just run to go keep, you know, I should have been dead day. It don't do that. It don't roll off right. It just, and it wouldn't be good on a postcard. It just, you know, but that's what we're dealing with. But atonement, something totally different. Go ahead.
And he shall take the 2 goats and present them before Yahweh at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And Aaron shall cast lots upon the 2 goats, 1 lot for Yahweh and the other lot for the scapegoat. And Aaron shall bring the goat upon which Yahweh's lot fell and offer him for a sin offering. But the goat on which the lot fell to be the scapegoat shall be presented alive before Yahweh to make an atonement with him and to let him go for a scapegoat into the wilderness.
All right, so then Yeshua has to play the role in all of this. He is being the one sacrificed, and ultimately, even though Barabbas is let go, we still see Yeshua is the one that not only gets to go and anoint the altar in heaven with his own blood that he shed for the sins of the children of Israel. So the whole story, Yahweh ends up giving us the story. We just don't understand how it's going to play out. But this had to physically be carried out by an individual. So because sin was committed by a man had to shed his blood. Go ahead.
Elder, when you look at this whole situation of the scapegoat and who he cast lots upon, at the first Passover, right, the lot was already cast. The firstborn of all the children of Egypt. They would die. We escaped it.
Right. And something, once he instituted this ordained something, he's got to put something. So the whole thing said, all right, go in there and kill all the firstborn except these. When you see this, don't kill them. All right, well, at that point, all right, I purchased all these to me. Because all them supposed to be dead. I told y'all supposed to be dead. They don't sound good. I'm telling you, their Hallmark wouldn't even print that one. I should have been dead. But hey, that's what we're dealing with. And if you ain't got none of those days, I don't think you counting right. There's a few of those that we got. I should have been dead. I know I got several of those that I hadn't even left the place yet, and I was looking like, damn, dog, I should have been dead. If you ain't had a damn dog, I should have been dead. I don't think you're counting right. I don't think you're counting right. Go ahead.
And Aaron shall bring the bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself, and shall make an atonement for himself and for his house, and shall kill the bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself. And he shall take a censer full of burning coals of fire from off the altar before Yahweh, and his hands full of sweet incense beaten small, and bring it within the veil. And he shall put the incense upon the fire before Yahweh, that the cloud of the incense may cover the mercy seat that is upon the testimony, that he die not.
Because now we're talking about he's representing going among the spirit of Yahweh Almighty. Go ahead.
And he shall take of the blood of the bullock, and sprinkle it with his finger upon the mercy seat eastward. And before the mercy seat shall he sprinkle of the blood with his finger 7 times.
So when Yahshua says, don't touch me, because I have not ascended unto my Father, he has not anointed the altar in heaven with the blood that he shed for the sins of the children of Israel. He was playing out what was already written concerning him. He was keeping his Father's law. That's why they could never keep up with him. They out there keeping tradition and he keeping law. And you can always have a problem when you trying to keep law and somebody else keeping tradition. So we have to ask ourselves at what point, what are we going to keep? We going to keep tradition or we going to keep our Father's law? Which one we going to do? That's the question that we have to ask ourselves. All right, I want to do another one here in Jonah chapter 1 and verse 14. Let's go there. All right, let's see. Go ahead and start at verse 1.
Now the word of Yahweh came unto Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry against it, for their wickedness is come up before me. But Jonah rose up to flee unto Tarshish from the presence of Yahweh, and went down to Joppa.
So he was told to go left, but he went right. Okay, go ahead.
And he found a ship going to Tarshish. So he paid the fare thereof, and went down into it, to go with them onto Tarshish from the presence of Yahweh.
Uh-huh.
But Yahweh sent out a great wind into the sea, and there was a mighty tempest in the sea, so that the ship was like to be broken.
All right, now, these other folk ain't got nothing to do with this issue. But this is how you can take the power of your issue and put it on everybody else. Now, everybody in the ship in danger, but the only disobedient one now is Jonah. Now, the other people don't know nothing. All right? Go ahead.
Then the mariners were afraid, and cried every man unto his God.
Now, they crying everybody, Allah, Jesus, Hare Krishna. All right? They called everybody. They call everybody calling, right? Everybody calling, right? Everybody. Go ahead.
And cast forth the wares that were in the ship into the sea, to lighten it of them. But Jonah was gone down into the sides of the ship, and he lay and was fast asleep.
They about to die, and he sleep. They trying to throw stuff off the ship. The ship must be heavy. We got to throw stuff off. We got to get rid of it. We about to die. What are you on? Okay, keep reading.
So the shipmaster came to him and said unto him, What meaneth you, O sleeper?
I've been asleep. I done passed out. I've been asleep. Oh man, what happened? What y'all? Something going on? Okay, go ahead.
You brought trouble to the door and went to sleep.
Yeah. Ain't that something? Done brought all the hell to this ship. And he fast asleep. Okay? Calling barnyard animals. These folk like we about to die. They done called on Jesus, Hare Krishna. They got everybody. They got Allah. They got everybody. They done called everything. Go ahead.
Call upon your Elohim. If so be that Elohim will think upon us, that we perish not.
They done called all the other gods. That didn't work. They said, we done called everybody. But your God now, you need to call your God. You need to figure out what's happening here. Go ahead.
And they said every one to his fellow, Come, and let us cast lots, that we may know for whose cause this evil is upon us. So they cast lots, and the lot fell upon Jonah.
Say, you brought this on us. Go ahead.
Then said they unto him, Tell us, we pray you, for whose cause this evil is upon us. What is your occupation, and whence cometh you? What is your country, and of what people are you?
Go ahead.
And he said unto them, I am an Hebrew, and I fear Yahweh, the El of heaven, which has made the sea and the dry land. Then were the men exceedingly afraid.
Not this God. We done heard about this one. Go ahead.
And said unto him, Why have you done this? For the men knew that he fled from the presence of Yahweh, because he had told them. Then said they unto him, What shall we do unto you, that the sea may be calm unto us? For the sea wrought, and was tempestuous. And he said unto them, Take me up, and cast me forth into the sea, so shall the sea be calm unto you. For I know that for my sake this great tempest is upon you. Nevertheless, the men rowed hard to bring it to the land, but they could not, for the sea wrought, and was tempestuous against them. Wherefore they cried unto Yahweh, and said, We beseech you, O Yahweh, we beseech you, let us not perish for this man's life, and lay not upon us innocent blood. For you, O Yahweh, has done as it pleased you.
All right, now, pause for a second. Now I want to get to the question. The question says in verse 14, can we agree that in his disobedience, others were able to see Yahweh's glory and become believers? Hell no. Look at here. When people in danger, they'll call on Hare Krishna, they call on whoever they got to call on. But let me tell you something, bro. Let me tell you something. Once that immediate thing is out the way, they're going to go right back to what they were doing before. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 10.
Elder, just before we go there, if they had any respect on the Yahweh, the first thing they would have did what he told them to do, throw me in the water. They thought they could go against Yahweh's power. Where we on?
1 Corinthians chapter 10. See, when folk want something, they'll tell you all kind of stuff. Yeah, I worship your God. I do all kind of stuff. And as soon as that immediate fear over,